How can I sell my homemade food in New York City? How can I sell my homemade food in NYC? That's what we're going to cover in the second part of the cottage food law video we did. On part one, we discussed a little bit about how to get started and what you can do, what you can sell. This is going to be part two, and we're actually going to cover some of the limitations and the legalities and a few other things you really need to be aware of as well. So, this is your first video. Welcome to Cottage Foods Laws. This is a YouTube channel dedicated solely to cottage food law businesses, starting a home-based food business or an online food business from home, and everything you need to know about that. And we're going to do videos on every state. So if you're new, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Stay tuned. We're going to have every single state on our channel. Now, let's pick up where we left off. So the limitations. You cannot use commercial equipment in a home-based food business. That's actually pretty much across the board in any state, not just in New York, but under New York cottage food laws, they definitely do not allow you to have, like for instance, a commercial bread mixer, extruders, commercial ovens that would require overhead lamps and all kinds of other additional exhausts. If you're looking for any type of commercial equipment, commercial microwaves even, believe it or not allowed. So anything that has to do with a larger scale production of food, you cannot do under New York State cottage food laws. Also, interstate sales are prohibited. So this is a little bit unusual because many states have now begun to allow people to have cottage food businesses from home, but they create online websites where they can actually sell. They're allowed to sell a product online, but they have to actually deliver it in person. Now, for instance, if I was in Florida and I bought something from a guy in California, but he can't sell it to me because his website is not set up for that. It's a bit confusing and it's a little difficult to distinguish who and what and where you can sell it from. Because if I'm in Florida and I buy something from a guy in California, he can contact me and say, sorry, I have to refund your money from my website because I have to deliver it in person. It's a bit confusing. I wish most states would actually just go ahead and allow you to ship the product directly from your home. Hopefully, I guess as cottage food laws evolve and change, they're going to allow that, which kind of makes sense. But for right now, interstate sales are prohibited, so you cannot ship a product over state line. Now, something that's really interesting though about New York State cottage food law is that there is no sales limit. You can actually sell as much product as you want, which is fantastic. Very few states allow this, believe it or not. Many of them will cap how much money that you can make selling your product through the cottage food laws. But in New York, no sales limit. Now, a couple other things you need to keep in mind. The business aspect of it. You're not necessarily required to have business licenses. You must submit a registration form, though, to the Department of Agriculture in regards to your business. Registration is free and it does not expire, doesn't have any type of expiration on it. You must list all the types of products, though, that you intend to sell, but you can add products as it goes along. So over time, if you want to take a few products away, then you could do that. If you're wanting to add a product that you want to make, that's fine, but you need to let them know. Now, something that's unique, too, is that if you're on a private well, you have to have your well water tested. This is obviously a no-brainer, just as common sense, because of the cleanliness of the water that you're using to clean the equipment and clean the products and even use within the food itself that you're baking. They need to know and make sure that that is a well working, no pun intended, but a well that's working properly and it definitely needs to be tested. Now, excuse me guys. So next up, labeling. Damien, I'm going to make my food product. Is there a specific guideline for labeling cottage food laws under New York State? Yes. Like many states, they do have a specific, actually, I believe, from my knowledge, every single state has a guideline set up for the type of labeling. So what goes on a label for cottage foods under New York State? Number one, allergens. So there are 6 major specific food allergens that are applicable for cottage food operations. So, things like eggs, peanuts, tree nuts, milk, soy, wheat. So you must list these if they're present in any of the products that you have, either including in an ingredient list or on a separate additional label that contains milk. Things like contains milk or wheat or eggs, those need to be marked on your allergens, okay? Business address. This has to be the actual address where your New York cottage food law business is operating from. So the business address needs to be present on the label itself. The business name. So your name, whatever that business name may be, if it's Damien's chocolate chip cookies, then so be it. you need to make sure that the business name is on there. Ingredients. You need to have an ingredient listing. This is going to include every ingredient from the most prevalently used ingredient down to the least, okay? Meaning if your cookies, let's say your chocolate chip cookies, consist mainly of obviously flour and then sugar, then eggs and so on, going all the way down to the most minimally used, that's the way you need to list your ingredients. Now, if you're doing net weight, this is something that's very kind of confusing. Many states specifically ask for a net weight. Now, if you're selling cookies, let's say, or something that's in quantity, not weight, but quantity, like 2 dozen cookies, 24 chocolate chip cookies, then you need to have that on there as the amount that you've got, okay? If it's a weighted item, like let's say before we mentioned what we can make in nuts and seeds or something like that, you're selling granola, obviously that's going to be a weighed item. So the net weight, which is just the product, not the bag, not the packaging, not anything that the actual packaging that's holding the product in, you need to subtract that. So that's considered the net weight. The net weight is simply the amount, let's say if it's 16 ounces, if it's 1 pound of granola, then it needs to be 1 pound of granola, not including the container, the label, the bag, or whatever it may be, okay? So make sure you have the net weight. Lastly, the product name. If it's granola, vanilla flavored almond granola, well then you need to have that on there, okay? All right, so next up, this is something that's not required by the states, but you need to make sure, I highly recommend you do this to protect yourself, but you create an LLC. You can actually do that online for free, by the way. I didn't know if you know that or not. But down below this video, there'll be a link in the description section. You can check out a website called inkfile.com. You can actually do it for free and only include the state filing fee, meaning that they offer a special where you can do it online, create your LLC, and you simply pay the state fee, which you can't get around that. Everybody has to pay the state fee to create their LLC. But do that because you want to protect yourself, your business, separate your business from your personal life. If you've got a home-based business in New York and you're making food, somebody gets sick and you don't have any LLC, you don't have food business insurance, then somebody could sue you and you can basically lose everything you have. This is no joke. So be sure to create an LLC for that layer of business protection and separation from your personal life. Also, make sure that you've got an insurance food policy for your home-based food business, which, believe it or not, by the way, you can actually do that. You can get a food business policy written as well. And again, more resources will be down in the description, okay? So if you're looking to create a home-based food business in New York, good news is, yes, they finally have one. It's extremely flexible now, a little bit more so, I guess you could say, than it was. But you definitely want to follow all of the guidelines. In this video, we let you know how can I sell my homemade food in NYC. That is pretty much it, guys. If you've got questions about starting your home-based food business in New York, let us know in the comments section and we'll get to it as soon as possible. Make sure you subscribe and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching Cottage Foods Laws, the brand new YouTube channel for the homemade food entrepreneur. definitely hit the subscribe button if you're asking yourself what foods can and cannot be sold as cottage foods, what foods fall under the cottage food law, and how much is it to get a cottage food license. We cover all of these topics and much, much more here on Cottage Foods Laws.